welcome back, Kitchen Sink family members. Yay, I'm so happy today. so excited. I have with me Mrs. Theodora Madzinga Chinembiri. I'm so happy to have you, Theo.
Thank you.
So
I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Why am I so excited? We touched on a nerve on our last video series, the part 1 and part 2. And that particular nerve was to deal with issues of side hustles. Oh my goodness, I've had family from the rural areas, family here in Harare, family in the diaspora wanting to know, so what are people doing? How are people doing it? Every time I'm having questions. Then I thought, you know what? I know someone in my life. I have someone in my life. This woman that I'm sitting with today, we've walked a journey.
Many years.
Yes, we've walked a journey. I've seen her start a side hustle that today is a meaningful main hustle for her in her life. It's her thing now. It's even your brand now.
Yes, it is.
Yes, so we want to discuss that today. But before we go any further, let me read a scripture from the book of Zechariah chapter 4, verse 10. The Bible says that for who has despised the day of small things? For these seven rejoice to see the plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel. They are the eyes of the Lord, which scan to and fro throughout the whole earth. I'm so excited. I can't even read straight. Can you imagine? I'm so excited. Let me read it in Shona. Hopefully I'll do a good job. Nokuti ndiani akashora zuva rezvinhu zviduku. And I like Shona, guys. I always tell you this. Sometimes it will bring out, some of those meanings that mean so much, in vernacular. So, nokuti ndiani akashora zuva rezvinhu zviduku, nokuti achafara zvikuru, achaona rwonzi rwokuyera muruoko rwaZerubhabheri. Awa ndiwo meso aJehovha anofamba pose pose panyika yose. So, Theo, this is what we do here. We discuss life issues, we discuss real issues, practical issues, as much as we can. And in the last 2 videos, we discussed about, not looking down on side hustles, not, in fact, the encouragement was for people to have more than one stream of income.
Definitely.
So I want us to discuss your life story.
Yes.
And I want for you to explain to me where were you, what did you encounter to think of side hustling, and where are you now?
Okay.
So
thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Mama.
Yes.
I'm so happy and excited as well. The excitement you have is infectious.
Yeah.
So I had a very thriving career in the banking sector, but I left in 2008. By the time I left in the office, people knew me that when there's an event, even when we go out into the community or on weekend events as a work team, I'll bring something to eat.
Okay.
Yes. So I've always loved and enjoyed cooking. So even when during regular days, I had people in the office who, if they're hungry, they'll come and check if I brought something from home.
Okay.
Yes. So when I then finished, when I left in 2008, my then husband was also working for another bank. I would give him a container with scones. If you remember 2007, 2008,
Yes.
when there were shortages.
Yes.
So there were people who would fail to get bread and they would struggle what to eat in the office. So one day he said to me, people keep coming to my lunchbox. I don't like sharing anymore. So can you make some extra?
Okay.
Then I'll give them. So initially we were giving for free.
Okay.
I would pack his lunchbox and then maybe an extra one with 5 or 6 items.
Okay.
Then one day his own colleague said, why don't you sell to us?
Okay.
So that we stop worrying about what to bring to work, and then it's guaranteed. So every single day for many months, we stayed in Mutare for a whole year. So I'd say for at least 6 months, you would take a scuffed-in, a container with scones, 20, 30. And then I gave him another little container as well where he would throw in the money people are paying.
Okay.
So for that reason, we actually always had the dollar for the odd things in the home. That money was more than sufficient. And it also helped that we were in Mutare, close to Manika, Chimoyo would go and buy flour, the ingredients, because there were shortages here.
Yes.
So that's when I got the idea that I can actually sell my food. I have been giving it for free all this time, So the one key point that I can actually give there is that many people struggle to establish their side hustles because from the first day they start, they want a profit.
Right.
But I had a whole long season of years of giving people free food.
Wow.
Now they knew my taste and they knew what I can do. So the day I then said, they are the ones who actually said, charge us.
Yeah.
I didn't come and say, I'll no longer give you for free. Now I sell.
Okay.
And then that's also quite similar. So that was the baking side with how I also started cooking. It's a very funny story. So we were back in Harare, 2009, staying in Braeside. Then at our church, the church I was going to, then there was a young man who didn't have a home.
Okay.
So I opened my home to him. He was staying outside in the cottage. Okay. Then I realized this guy is single. Sometimes he comes back very late. And I also noticed the trend where he would be fasting. And then I noticed that around 8 or 9 he's breaking his fast. But he didn't cook because he lives alone. So what I then did is I would then trap him to come and eat supper with us. Okay. So I send the kids and say, Mkoma, Mama wants to see you. He comes, he sits, and then immediately I'm serving food and he's forced to eat with us. Then guess what? Something very interesting happened at church. There was a conference. I still remember it was for 150 people. This conference was going to be from Monday until Sunday. Monday to Thursday, we would do morning sessions only and end by lunchtime. Then from Thursday, it will be food day until Sunday. Pastor calls me in and says, you are heading the pastor's lounge. You're doing all the cooking for these 150 guests. And I'm like, but I've never done it before. Do you know what he said? He says, Mukoma told me that you cook very well. He's eaten in your home for almost 2 years. He loves your food. There is not a single plate that you served him which wasn't tasty or delicious. Okay. Then I accepted at your word, man of God. Yes. So I was actually pleasantly surprised because I have to mention this, the 150 people, it was VIP lounge for the guest speakers, 10 people. Okay. Then pastor's lounge, I think it was about 30. Okay. And then visitors lounge for people who come from out of town, they accompany the guests or the pastors. Yes. And I was able to organize everything. I had different teams cooking for the main lounge, for the pastors, for the visitors. Monday to Sunday, we faithfully delivered every meal. And at the end, it was tiring and exhausting, but I was like, okay, so I can do this. And another payoff is the people who were eating the food. So I then started heading the department in church. And I was now responsible for cooking all the meals, whether it's one guest visiting, they'll eat in my home, or it's a conference, or it's a departmental meeting. Ushers would say, can you cook for us? Do you know what then happened? This church had very young people. It was mostly university graduates. They started getting married. Then people would approach me and say, I ate your food many times, go cancelling. Please cook for us. So I encourage people that when you start a hustle, you need to get yourself out there. There is a season where you do things for free. I was serving God willingly and faithfully. I was not being paid for it. But the people who were eating are the ones who then come and say, this time I want to pay you. Yes. Can you come and cook for me?
That's good.
Yes. So that's how I started catering and baking.
Okay. And had you had any prior training in baking and cooking?
This is interesting because yesterday there's a lady who sent me a message and said, please recommend a cooking school for me to go. I've never attended any culinary school. I've never been formally trained in cooking. I am a self-taught cook and baker. And I was fortunate, let me add this, that in my career at the bank, I would travel a lot. I was a trainer. So training involves within Zim going to almost every town and hotel. Then outside Zim, I would go to Asia, Singapore. I stayed in Indonesia for a while. So because I had an interest in food, I never say no if it's buffet, and I would rather, I don't overfill my plate, but I'll take a small little bit of everything so that I taste.
Okay.
And then people tend to see people who take pictures of their food, let's say in a restaurant, as if they want to post on social media. I have, if you check in my phone in my gallery, I have more than 10,000 pictures of food.
Okay.
So I don't want to forget the way the meal that I ate at Queen of Hearts looked, or another place.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a picture. When I go home, I'll dissect it. Okay, so this salad, it looks like they put apples and celery and cucumber. So this is a good combination.
Wow.
Next time I try it.
Ah.
So even if you invite me to a wedding in your family and there's a whole array of dishes, I'll say just a little bit, just a little bit. I taste everything and then I copy best practice from that.
Wow.
Yes. So that's how I have improved on my cooking. And I'll give you a very good example. There are circles where they say I do very lovely vegetarian dishes, but I've never been a vegetarian. And initially, I actually used to think that veggie stuff is boring, it's dull. But because of that desire to see how others are presenting their food, I now know, do you know what we do when someone asks for, let's say, snacks? So we'll have, for example, a chicken samosa, beef spring roll, and let's say a chicken half moon for meat eaters. We'll also have veggie samosas, veggie spring rolls, and veggie some half moons for those who don't eat.
Yes.
One might have potatoes. Another one, we buy, you know, those in the frozen fridge section. They have those boxes where they'll say soy burgers or what. We take them, we grate them, and then they are thin like the chicken filling. You then add your onions, your whatever you use. You prepare a nice filling. I have had jobs where there were not enough vegetarians to finish the veggie stuff, and then other people say, can I taste? And then they complain and say the veggie stuff is even nicer than the chicken because they are more used to chicken and beef.
Yes.
So I would think that being willing to learn about food, being adventurous, some people think it's being modest to look like you're not hungry at an event. And then you want to act like, no, I actually usually am the one who starts saying, wait, what time are we eating food? I can hardly wait, because I have such an excitement to see how they display their food, how they do it, and then I'll copy best practice.
Wow. Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done. And so from what you're telling me, it started in terms of actually now selling. It started in Mutare.
Yes.
With 30...
roughly 30 scones per day. A box of 30 scones.
A day. And over the years, it has grown.
It has grown to, I would say, the biggest job we've done of small little things was 600. You're making 600 samosas, 600 half moons, 600 spring rolls.
I remember that time. I wanted a cake and you said I can't.
It's a lot of work because I'm very fussy. I don't want to buy store-bought things. We make everything from scratch. And because of ZESA issues, we can't make 2 weeks in advance.
By the way, ZESA issues are electricity issues.
Oh, yes. You know how we talk in our day-to-day language, yes. So for power issues, you can't be stocking lots of things in the fridge. So we make everything from scratch. And generally, the comment we usually get is that your food is very fresh.
Yes.
What it means is maybe sacrificing the 2 nights prior to the event. We work through the night, and you also have a bigger team where another caterer might work with 3 people. I might have to work with 5 or 6 because we are making a whole lot of things. So it has really grown from, it's not even from 30 scones. I would like to say it's from 1 lunch box that my ex was taking to work, and then it grew until today where we serve so many people.
When I met you though, Theo, you were not cooking.
I was cooking at a smaller scale. You were not aware. Remember, so actually when you mentioned that we've known each other for years, this is 2024. I joined BCC in 2014. So it's exactly
10
10 years.
Wow.
It's a whole decade,
Wow.
yeah. So it took me time to get into the thick of things. But I actually wish you could remember right from the first meetings that I attended, if it was a bring and show something, I would always bring something to eat. I would bring a platter.
Where I remember you bringing stuff is in our little accountability or discipleship group.
Even Tuesday ladies, we used to do tea.
Yes.
And then I would bring cake slices and all.
Yes.
So,
but for you to do it as a side hustle, I remember pushing you for cakes.
Cakes, you were one. I have a picture of the first cake you ordered from me.
Yes.
I can even send it to you after. It was a yellow cake.
Yes.
2-tier. You were doing it for your mom-in-law.
Yes.
And I was afraid. I was refusing to do the cake. And you said, I have faith in you.
You have to do
and
it.
I remember sitting at home and thinking, where is this woman having this confidence in me?
Yes.
So baking, the small stuff, scones
Yes.
and all, I was able to do.
Okay.
But in terms of actual cakes, I have a friend who was already baking. She gave me a few free lessons. That was November 2016.
Okay.
I actually remember that.
Okay.
Then my very first order was December 2016. I'm pretty sure if you could remember which month and year, which month was your
December.
month. You see,
She was at December 31.
I hope I'm not stretching it, but I actually think you were my first customer who was not family.
Okay.
The first few cakes I did were people that I said, please order from me and my family, even if it's not good at least. But I think you were my first paying customer. So yeah,
I believe
10
in side
years
hustles.
later, yeah.
I believe in side hustles.
Yeah.
So why I'm wanting us to go that way is because sometimes people think once you start a side hustle, you said earlier on, people think profitability is immediately.
No.
Then the other myth also is once you have a side hustle, it will be continued throughout for as long as you want. So I want you to share with us your own experience with stops and starts, with side hustles, in terms of also it being not so profitable at times, and yet the desire is there to continue, and what came out of that effort of continuing even though profits were not as much as you would have desired.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me zero in on baking cakes.
Yes.
Like I said, my friend took me for some few lessons.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually explaining the process as an encouragement to other people. We tend to think that you need to have lots of pictures because when a customer orders a cake, they say, show me samples of what you've done.
Yes.
So this is what my friend said. We did, I think, 2 or 3 lessons. Then she says, start taking orders. And customer will have a chat with you, send the question to me, I give you the response, you reply the customer.
Wow.
And then she also said, ask the customer to give you a picture of what they want, send it to me, I'll confirm that I'm available on the day and I can do it. So my first 5 cakes, she did them. I would come and sit and I'm watching her do it. I collect the cake, put it in my car, go and deliver as if I'm the one who's done it. So what was happening is I'm building pictures of cakes I've done.
Yes.
And then she also said, I'll cover you because she actually offers paid lessons. If at all a customer were to see that and know that it's my hand, I'll then say, no, but she's my student and we do it together. So it's not deceptive, but it's part of the learning process for you to stand on your own 2 feet. So that's how I also train now. I offer cake lessons as well.
Okay.
Yes, I cover someone who has done the first few lessons with me, and for a period I tell them, be daring, be bold.
Okay.
Send me the picture. If I confirm that on Saturday they want it at 12, am I available for you to come maybe at 8 with the cake and the creams and everything, we decorate it together, then you take it out.
Okay.
So that was very important. Then another thing as well, those first few cakes, it wasn't profit.
Okay.
She would, I remember the very first ones, she would allow me to use a kitchen. She had a kitchen hiring fee, $5.
Okay.
So I don't need to have pans or dishes or mixers or anything. I use hers. But then she would say, because of the risk I'm taking in empowering you this way, you're accountable to me. When you collect the money, come and show me what you've bought.
With that money?
With that money.
Okay.
So then I buy my first 3 round tins. Next cake, she does it for me. I deliver. I come and show her evidence, or I send a picture. I bought 3 square tins, 3 rectangular tins in sets.
Yes.
Next time I'm buying a mixer. So I still remember the very first cake I then did 100% on my own at my house.
Yeah.
You know that excitement to please your
Yes.
teacher. I said I won't even tell. I took an order. I did everything and then took a picture and said, your student has done a first cake.
Wow.
By that stage, it means I have enough stuff at home now.
Yeah.
I no longer need to go and use a kitchen.
Right.
So many people shy away from hustles because they try to raise 100% of the resources required.
Okay.
That's why you hear people saying, we don't have capital. Where does the money come from? But I believe every kind of hustle has a way in which you can start off.
Yeah.
I have customers who come and order cakes, collect from my house, and they go and deliver it somewhere with a markup as if they are the ones who baked. They'll actually say, when you put the outside packaging, please don't put
label.
your company logo. Yes, because they want to start. They want to raise the money, and it's not even deceptive in terms of they've told me that. It's like when you go into town and you buy this cup. And then you bring it here up market, you add 10 cents and you sell it.
Okay.
That's the same thing with the cake. So Theo has a cake for $40. I'll get it from you for 40, but I'll tell you the truth, I'm selling it to someone at 60. The 20 that I retain, I'm putting it into the hustle until the day I can bake on my own.
Wow.
So that's how
That's
we do
very,
it.
very interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So already you've talked about starting with 30 scones. You've talked about a recommendation coming from somebody that you were giving food for free. You've talked about a willingness to be trained
Yes.
in that side hustle. And you've also talked about when you have been trained, accountability.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
in that particular
Stay connected to the
Yes.
person who taught you.
Yeah.
Because I could have grown a big head at some point and said my cakes are now good. Up till today, 2016, that was 8 years ago.
Yes.
They're still challenging cakes.
Okay.
For which I respect her for having gone ahead of me.
Okay.
She's years experience. So I may have a discussion with a client. I go back to her and I say, Tao, this kind of cake, how would I do it? This technique, how do I do it? Sometimes she'll say, let's search on YouTube for a tutorial. That helps a lot. Or other times she'll laugh and say, that cake, I did it last year. Let me look for the picture. It's now even much easier.
Okay.
That's also another tip that I'll give out.
Okay.
There are people who believe you can be self-taught by relying 100% on tutorials available via the internet. But I also want to caution and say, there is nothing beats talking to someone.
Yes.
Same climate conditions,
Yeah.
same locality.
Yeah.
Even in our vernacular, we discuss. You find that some of the recipes, even just for food, if you try to follow them, if it's done by someone in America or Canada or Sweden, the ingredients they get or they have are totally different.
Yes.
There are cake recipes which, if it takes 45 minutes, they're in the oven at 180 degrees. Because of latitude differences, we have to add another 10 minutes or something. So you will not grow fast
Okay.
in any, not just baking.
Yeah.
If you rely completely on different cultural settings, tutorials done, they give you a good base, but you have to customize it
Yeah.
to what is locally available.
Wow, that's another thing. Family, we are talking to you. Please listen and take heed.